Good afternoon, good evening, good time of day, free enterprise fans around the world, and welcome to a rip-roaring matchup between two incredible runners. Fleury and John Birckhead going to do battle here in ZZ6 in the round of 16. I have the pleasure and honor of being joined by the one and only Inven in the booth. We have Antidale doing the tracking. We have Alicel behind the scenes keeping everything from catching fire. So we hope. Inven, how are you this afternoon, my friend?
Doing great. Been looking forward to this matchup. When we had the round of 24 and we got to see everyone's bye weeks coming up and who was, fast approaching. Are we going to see this matchup or this matchup? And admittedly, I kind of wanted to see this match between John and Fleury. John, of course, was the up and coming runner. Fantastic racer at this point, who knocked Fleury out of the OMG tournament. So, is this a moment for vengeance or to further assert dominance on a more traditional, more difficult flag set, of course? But I'm excited to see the skills that he's developed put to the test here. So this ought to be a really great match tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely going to be a good one. A lot of storylines in it too, and you love storylines that just kind of build themselves in it. But we also have, you mentioned the skills and all of that. There's a very interesting thing in play though.
Oh,
The
what's that?
particular thing that was voted on by our runners or not voted on is going to make their overworld a little bit easier than one might expect from ZZ6 if you've been following the tournament. Our runners in Ven, they have free characters, don't they?
That's right. All the other options, the runners decided to veto for one reason or another, not wanting to risk, the the nasty boss checks gating your way underground, not wanting myabs, monsters in boxes to have key items. A lot of those variances the runners didn't want, and instead they reduced it even further. We're gonna know what our character options are first 5 minutes of the seat or so.
Yeah, and one of the really cool things about this is, you actually trim down. Hello, Iridia. Hello, Darkness, my old friend. Iridia, Cecil, a Yang, and a Darkness Crystal, or karate, as it were. Well, how quickly can you scramble together a Mac Giant fight? And boy, are there some fun things that we can talk about how to scramble together and make one happen. That being said, the interesting thing character wise about this is normally there's no Tell and no Fusoya. With free characters on like this and no starting edge, that also means there's no edge. So we are down to a character pool of 9. We will see 7 of them. There's only going to be 2 characters missing, and I'm very curious to see where our runners go, what they do, how much they loot, if they just try to get through ordeals and power up a Cecil to do cover strats for a Mac Giant grind. I'm intrigued with how our runners are going to approach this.
Yeah, because definitely one of the things that there's been a bit of conversation about when I've been talking with Flurry is that with an early Iridia, a seed can very easily swing just based on who finds an early Leviathan or Bahamut orb.
Mhm.
But when you have a starting Darkness Crystal, are you going to backburner that and instead just, try to get the grind together? Uh, you don't have to worry about a hook route getting your grind. You don't have to worry about having to go through a dozen overworld checks. It is just how quickly can you get it online. And that Rosa from the Watery Pass is going to be very helpful for doing this.
Yeah, that Rosa from Watery Pass is going to be nice. Can get to Blink if we want, or we could do some super duper hyper weird things with a Mac Giant grind. If you find a Charm Rod and you get Rosa to the point where she can cast Life, you can charm a White Mage over and over with that Charm Rod, have a bunch of Ethers, and they can just sit there and cast Life on the Mac Giant spot in the grind. I've never seen anyone do it yet, but it's out there, and I'd love to see it in a race.
Well, first of all, I don't even know if the runners know about that. Is this something like you've discussed with John and everything? Does he know that this is on the table given the early Black Mage White Mage combo?
No, this is something that myself and Scarcer have theory crafted and found out it does in fact work. With the weird thing you typically see is with the charm from the Black Cat Lamias, in Ebling Castle, you see weird things happen with the life glitch there, and it's like, well, we know that what an alert does is it's effectively casting life 2 on a Mac Giant. What if you just cast Life 1 repeatedly instead? You don't need any gear, you just need a way to stop the Searcher, and you're good to go.
I will be very shocked if we see that in play. It'll probably be a little more traditional. So more bad news, good news for the runners at this time. Edward is the freebie at the top of Damsian. No randomization there, it seems. But the good news is Rosa actually started with mute arrows and an archer bow. There was an elven bow in the watery pass. So we've got a little bit of oomph here. Sometimes you're worried with, like if we had the Rydia and the DKC and an Edward and a Yang, how are we actually going to do our damage? Rosa's actually going to help us out quite a bit in this early game.
And not only that, we also found a black belt in Damsian, which is super helpful. Black belt, probably the best normal piece of gear you're going to find in this flag set. It's just incredible. Bonus to your defense, bonus to your evade, bonus to your strength. It just does so much. It's a wonderful piece of gear. And that's going to go a long way, as long as your primary DPS, which would be Rosa here, doesn't get immediately glared by a rather rude Ruby.
Yeah, I mean, we do have the starting kit with the 10 life potions, and this spot's relatively slow, won't punch really hard. So we'll be able to attrition our way through it. It's just, how precious are these early game resources? Are you going to regret burning them now? But again, with that darkness crystal and free characters, I like the play. I don't think you really get a chance to hesitate or beat around the bush with this kind of opening. You want to get everything going and online ASAP.
Yeah, absolutely. And, love Fleury taking the route here of launching the whale, getting the rest of his characters, because we've seen things like an Earth Hammer. So if you find Sid, that helps. If you find the twins, you can use twin magic. We see a Yang, which is great on this particular flag set. Palom, just great in general. Those are two characters that are definitely going to fill the role of a spoonless Eddie. And honestly, if you don't want to mess with ordeals, you can decide to skip out on Cecil even, buy like 70 life potions, and just go to town. That Earth Crystal that JohnBirckhead just found in Antlion Cave may change that dramatically, though, because that gear can really drive party composition.
Oh yeah, and the nice thing about this too is that this may be the sum total of looting we have to do this seed. Depending on what we pull from there, all of a sudden I'm not worried about, going to Eblin to see what's in the boxes. I'm not worried about maybe later doing a little looting on the way to the Fame Arch or anything. Like, this could just be loot done after this point. So I'm excited to see what's in the treasury. Fleury seems to be a little more interested in finding out exactly who these character choices are. Very early ordeals run here.
Yeah, and he did save outside of Mysidia, so this is save scum if this is someone he doesn't want or someone he might want to sling. I think you take that Sid. Sid with an Earth Hammer is a lot of early power. He's going to fall off, but oh, no, Fleury says no to the Sid. I'm a little surprised by that, but may feel comfortable enough with what he has already. I know on JohnBirckhead's side with that Earth Crystal right now, I would be really looking to see what that loot is before even picking up more characters, because I'd really want to make that choice, kind of guide my character decision instead of having to double dip into Mysidia. So a little surprised by that. Plus, you might be able to see, hey, do I get a Zeus Gauntlet, which would be like the bee's knees here.
Yeah. The Zeus Gauntlet, of course, giving that giant defense, which, I mean, we are probably going to turn Cecil into a paladin before grinding, and then he can just cover everyone. You don't even have to worry about blink situation then if he's just covering everyone and taking a single point of damage. But if for some reason folks don't want their Cecil, well, that still will completely give safety to your Yang, your Sid, who can just shrug off all the giant attacks pretty readily.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you only get your Cecil up to like 45, 47 defense, he can still only take max of about 480 or 490 in the back row. So even a level 1 Cecil with a gigantic stack of Cure 2s, talk maybe 50 of them or something, you can still get through a very uncomfortable grind on the back of Cecil just by launching Cure 2s at him until you're kind of out of stuff to do.
And we do see Fleury here also heading to Antlion. I think maybe Fleury just now picked up an Earth Hammer. Was John's Earth Hammer from there, or was there another one earlier? Maybe Fleury's feeling a little regret now not keeping the Sid, given the very useful weapon for him right here.
Yeah, it may just have been an ordering thing where the Earth Hammer came early for John and not as early for Fleury. That said, he may go back for that Sid still, or may just pick him up as a temporary filler. maybe you opt out of Cecil and you pick up Sid on the way up ordeals, and then you just get Cecil back afterwards. Not
Yeah,
necessarily the worst play either.
yeah. And I did see Fleury already has a Thunder Claw for Yang to help out with the grind. John has a Charm Claw, which, accuracy issues notwithstanding, you put your Yang in the middle, he'll still be dishing out thousands of damage during your grind. Nothing too much to worry about there. So that's a notable piece of gear already. Sid being less good at the end game, but us already seeing an machine weapon for him in the Earth Hammer kind of makes the final party comp here a tricky decision. I'm glad that there's plenty of options on the blue planet already, so our runners can think about this. Uh, just to see, do you want a faster grind or do you want a better team after your grind?
Definitely. I think the party comp is basically not Edward and figure it out from there. Two power shirts back to back is ridiculous. And some decent selling stuff there, but nothing really good for armor. We got a diamond armor and a diamond shield. That's not really going to get us where we need to be, but the double power shirt is something fierce for, I mean, not just a grind, but just clear speed on the overworld.
Oh yeah, that is so huge. Hey, John gets a Thunderclaw as well. We get a Dwarf Axe for quick back row glitching. I think we may already have had one of those. And a little bit of an inventory boss, but we'll clean that up in a hurry here. Yeah, I'm even looking at that Samurai bow, by the way, because we see Charm Arrows for sale. All of a sudden, Rosa also gets slotted in to be big damage dealer versus the Mag Giants. And that, again, thinking of endgame party comp, do you want the Sid or do you want a little more mage heavy? We can't ditch Rydia, she's the hero. So anything that helps get another damage dealer online for that grind instead of Sid, I think will pay dividends on the back end.
Yeah, for sure. I will also say, with regards to that, John is not taking Sid. He said just straight up no to that Earth Hammer as part of the inventory boss. He also got rid of his 10 Thor Rages. Or got rid of 10 Thor Rages. I guess he already had another stack of them, so that's fine. But it was very interesting to see the Earth Hammer go, because it also sells for a fair bit. Would have liked to see him sell that. I think it's like 7,500 gold or something, which is more than most items are going to sell for. Even if you don't want the Sid, like, at least sell his gear.
Yeah, I will. There's also a crystal armor that Fleury picked up somewhere. You talked about
Ooh.
wanting to reach that defense threshold. That will definitely help you on that front. And you don't really want to be zerking in that fight, of course, obvious reasons. So yeah, some interesting loot that we found already. I don't think anything that immediately puts the grind on the table. I think there's still some decisions and some more checks to be made, and John's about to give us one of those over at Fabul.
Yeah, I think Fabul for John and probably Fleury as well is happening, unless he gets I guess, adventurous and decides to YOLO ordeals. I just don't know what we have for Rydia yet, other than like a bow. I guess a bow, arrow, and power shirt probably gets us there, but it could be a little bit spicy if we tried to rush that with Rydia. Still potentially concerned. I guess we have found a Sylph orb, at least on John's side. If we have it on Fleury's side, then Sylph will get our runners through. We do have Sylph on both runners, so that'll get them through ordeals, no problem, actually.
Yeah. John, of course, putting the Sorcerer Robe on her, so she'll have a little more oomph to her black magic than Fleury's will. But also is still really something you need to be casting right now anyway. But still has that Edward in the team. I wonder, I mean, Spoonward also can help with the grind. The question is how good will he be at the end game over other options? I'd like to see a Spoon. I'd like to see some spicy Edward plays today.
I think with Cecil exactly, Edward has potential, but you are really aggressively playing into finding a spoon at some point. And that's a scary proposition, because the spoon is a terminal key item. It is more likely to be on the moon or the Fey March than anywhere else, and you'd really want the spoon early to help you as your DPS. So it's very interesting. Maybe John's just deciding he wants to sling Palom, and that's why he's not taking him into the party. That could be the decision there. Fleury, meanwhile, chews right through elements. Was in the fight second and out of the fight first. John is going to be out of it as well, so both runners getting through elements. Part of the stinky thing about elements, though, is we're splitting XP. So instead of getting, 5,000-ish from Fabul. We're getting, what, 2,000, which
Yeah,
is pretty
2182.
rough.
Yeah. And that's going to be another interesting thing here, because of course the slingshotting Palom. By the time if we intend to give Rydia every Mac Giant necessary for her to get nuke, a slingshotted Palom is going to be through the roof, ready to shrug off everything in the late game. 2,500 HP on this kid. So I like that. But on the other hand, are we going to regret not having his tier 2 spells running up ordeals in a minute? So I like the counterpoint, the counterplay between the two of them with that early party comp. We'll see whose strategy actually pays off with the randomization this seed.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well because you could also see, let's say John decides that he wants to get white on Rosa, but not go all the way to nuke on Rydia. I could see that because she's going to get it, what, 3 sets of Mac Giants sooner, something like that. Whereas Fleury might be beholden to, a full grind, since by the time Paling gets nuke, if he's not being slung, you're basically going to end up with nuke on Rydia as well from like one more set. So it'd be very interesting to see how that plays out. We do have a free boss in Baron, though. Love to see that. If you are a commentator or a viewer, if you're a runner, you don't want to see a free boss here. You want something that might pack a punch, like an Ogopogo, an Evil Wall. Something that's not rude. You want to save that Bahamut for later. So we'll see what's at Baron in 2. That could be a big boss for Fleury here if it's something rude. And if it's a gauntlet, that would not be ideal, but there's no delay there, so just Waterhead, completely free Baron.
Yeah, gonna be super speedy to get out of here. No character check with the C-No earned in play. But if you do get your underground access, this team is very ready to take an egg to get a little more advancement on their levels. Even if Cecil's not gonna have value being in Dark Knight form, getting your kits online, getting Rose up to burst, Yang to actually start dealing damage, those are pretty useful things.
Speaking of more free bosses, though, here's another one. Dark Knight Cecil in the least punchy spot in the game, or at least one of them. We get a speech all about justice. There was not much justice or anything else being served there. Just a little bit of a tickle party. Everybody shrugged it off. John picked up Sid over Yang, worth noting that, and then decided that, the poor Earthhammer was no longer in his inventory. Fleury, meanwhile, gets a rat tail from Baron in that cannot really be of any use at the moment, but might have some use later on, especially being an objective. And John has a Sura. We'll see if we get some lifelock strats here. Maybe some access to a Mute Arrow or Elven Bow as well.
Yeah, and there's a rune axe on that Sid, and I believe a power shirt as well. So we'll see what kind of damage. Oh, Rosa might not give him a chance. Holy moly. Beautiful damage. But you did mention that rat tail, and I guess this is a good time during some enemy crumbles to go over our objectives right quick. We do have both tails on the list, so you'll be hard-pressed to beat this seed without a hook. Possible, but hard-pressed. 2 Darkness Crystal gated objectives. We got the 2 kind of sandwich ends of Lunar Subterranean routing. Terminal, Package, and Sand Ruby. No characters on this flag set, of course. And then we got Forge and Sealed Cave. So a nice little sprinkling of a wide array of not just different objectives, but different objective types. The things that are gating them, the results you can expect them to yield, whether or not they're chaining into others. It's a nice big variety.
Yeah, while being a variety, it's also very interesting that we have effectively 5 terminal key items that we have to find. Both halves of the Forge, the Package, the Sand Ruby, and the Pink Tail. That none of those lead to anything. And with that many terminal key items and a starting darkness, man, I might just take that darkness, do a Mac Giant grind, and go blow up the entire moon, especially with 2 objectives up there as well. You might hit some pay dirt up there.
And we do get the tower key from the changing room, so that means we know our logical path underground. Well, it's one of 2 things. It's either a demist at one of the 2 loose overworld boss spots, or it's through that Tower of Zot, which you're not getting 2 characters at the end of Zot on this flag set. So I agree. I think all of a sudden Moon becomes extremely tempting over a long Zot that's lacking in rewards.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting now what our runners decide to do. Also seeing yet another free boss, King Queen Evelyn in the changing room. This one actually a little annoying because we need two Sylph casts, not just one. But it's a situation now where our runners are just presented with a ton of free bosses, a ton of easy bosses. The knowledge, as you said, of, well, my underground access is through Za, which I don't want to do. How early do they grind? How much do they push it? That's what's very interesting to me now. Fleury, I think, with a giant stack of Cure 2s and that crystal armor, can push through a Mac Giant grind, even a really janky one at like level 1. But I don't know if John's going to have the same ability.
Yeah, and it's also to the point now where you do kind of have to go ahead and choose your party because there are so many bosses in Zot that will, like, if we don't do a little more grinding, there are plenty of bosses up there that can just crunch this team. They're speedy. The Val spot in particular, very speedy, very high spell
Yes.
power. The Maga Sister spot is a boatload of HP to chew through. So that's another reason why I'd be very hesitant in just rushing up there. You could get completely stonewalled. And is this just a random Lilith, or did John pop his Siren? I love the Siren pop if that's it.
I think he popped a siren and he wants to probably take this to get his party set up to sling Palom and probably Yang. He gets a slingshot on Cecil from this, so he's going to get like 10,000 XP on Cecil, 11,000. That probably gets Cecil to a range where he can stand in front of Mac Giants well enough. He just needs Palom and Yang to be level 11 or less, and then he gets a double sling set up on him. It's a very, very aggressive play. But as you stated in our opener, John has gotten a lot better over time. He used to be an up and coming runner, and now he's kind of a proven veteran. So we'll see if he can make it work.
Yeah, I mean, you don't make it to the round of 16 without your chops. So this is exciting. I mean, this team I think also, I say I'm worried about Zot bosses. We've all gotten bit by a rude one in a rude place. John's team can probably handle that, and I think by the time you're through here, you probably do have Blink on your Rosa for extra yeah, she's level 18. Well, no. You need level 23 for Blink, right? So might not quite be enough here. So yeah, we're gonna go up Zot. We'll see who these bosses are. I'm a little nervous. We still have the Edward on the team as well, kind of just taking up bad turns for us, not doing a whole lot of his own accord. But if you do get the slingshot, like you said, and you have a smooth grind, 50 levels on Yang and Palom, you're gonna have a very comfy end game.
Yeah, and you have options at that point as well. Yang becomes your physical fighter, Palom becomes your nuker until Rydia eventually one day, maybe this seed or the next, learns nuke because of her XP curve. She will not learn Meteo in this seed unless something goes horrendously wrong. Sorry, Rydia fans. And Rosa's just Rosa. You will never have a bad time on this or most flag sets if you have a Rosa.
Absolutely. And help me out here, Twitch chat, whoever. I did not notice if our runners did peak Waterfall and or Antlion Cave. Did you notice Possum? Have either runner or both actually checked those for demist yet?
I did not see Waterfall or Demus get peaked by our runners, but that's that's just me. I was paying more attention to looting and shopping and party planning.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, that would
likewise.
have been very interesting to see, and I think we're getting that from Fleury right now. 10 minutes ago, reading your mind in the present.
And while he's doing that, we do have a Leviathan at boss 1. Both runners have Thunder Claws and other tools. I don't think it'll be much of a threat. That's just Plague in the Waterfall. That's one of our sparkles accounted for.
Probably not the one you want to see, though, honestly. Again, that's another relatively free boss, or certainly one that these runners know how to cheese, either with Berserk strats or Reflecting Count. That's another relatively easy boss off the table. And here's Odin. That's one when we have a Thunderclaw is effectively a free boss as well. This Leviathan effectively kind of free. We're looking at a really spicy, like Feymarch, Moon potentially. A lot of nasty little bosses out there, the evil walls and Bygons of the world and such.
Absolutely. And that may also be a prompt to say maybe I don't want to grind and immediately go moon. Let me handle a few more K main checks. Let's see some of the more benign spots. What are we dealing with at Dwarf Castle? What are we dealing with at Lower Babel? Because yeah, with Antlion, Biogen, Evil Wall all pending, it's a little spooky.
Yeah, definitely. Even with a fully grinded party, you can still take some major paint up on the moon from, those nasty bosses, or like three Dark Imps in Bahamut Cave if you don't hit your stone. There's a lot of things that can go wrong in a hurry when you got multiple targets hitting you for a boatload of damage. John does get through pretty rapidly that Leviathan. We'll see if Fleury can duplicate that performance. Flurry is up the peaks in Waterfall and Mist Cave. John is up this Leviathan fight, so relatively even for our runners. Big difference being Flurry not really looking at a sling, at least not yet, on his characters, where John is still looking at one. We do see Golbez going to be vanilla in Dwarf Castle. That's actually a welcome sight. It's a bit annoying to have Golbez anywhere, but maybe that also means you just decide to fade that Dwarf Castle because you don't want to deal with the ha 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 man.
Yeah, and again, it's another spot where we're not going to have a character as part of our rewards, and with a full grind on the table, you're not as interested in seeing Rydia's bonus summons for growing up. Uh, uh, if we were still pending darkness, maybe you think, okay, Golbez at Dwarf 2, it's pretty free, it's annoying, but let me go ahead and go there anyway. But I think a lot of things on the seat are saying, don't go have an extra cutscene fight if you can help it.
Dark Elf going to be a friend here, not a foe, and hopefully have a couple spells here hit Edward so that John doesn't have turns eaten up, and that is what happens there. A little bit more damage than you'd expect typically from Dark Elf. I think it was like 93 on Sid. Wonder if he's wearing a fire or ice armor that might be taking some extra damage somewhere. We do see the spot though. You had talked about how fast it is. Dark Elf is getting 2-to-1 turn-wise on most of our party here on John's side, which is a little spooky. And I do want to amend the earlier comment. Flurry is also up that Baron in. Granted, it was very quick. Thank you, Antidote, for pointing that out. But yeah, this Dark Elf is schmoovin' on JohnBirckhead's side.
We do have it up to the dragon form now. Give Sid a little punch here. If Sid has that Dragoon Gauntlet on, I think that ultimately this fight, well, I was going to say ultimately I think the fight's fine, but it is, you aren't kidding. That thing is so fast right now.
No longer fast now. It's been stopped.
There we go.
Eventually Sid will get through this.
Yeah, when Dark Elf actually has you sweating a little bit, you know that the seed has some treats in store for you. But there we go, the crumble's happening. Now, this isn't necessarily our underground access. Baron Key and Twin Harp are both still pending on the overworld. We could have a really weird package with a D-Mist at the end of it. But with these levels, you have to think that grind is looming. You can't put it off for too long, because we've seen this time and time again in this tournament. The first person to get out of the grind, massive advantage going forward on the seed. It can still bite you with, just the checks and everything, but power overwhelming is hard to argue with.
Yeah, power overwhelming, long one of my favorite staples of this or any rando. I love to grind early and grind often, and the Darkness Crystal allows our runners to do that. We do see a Magma Key, so to your point, there are some easier checks out there. We are only at 4 key items though, so I do wonder just how long do we put this off. Birckhead going to head straight into Baron, clean up this Baron in check while Flurry is going to take out this Dark Elf. Should be a little bit better set up for it because he has more active party members doing more damage, but shouldn't be too much of an issue either way here, although 147 from Cecil, not ideal, but Palom has virus. That is a big deal.
Yeah. Notably, discussing again the difference between how soon do you want to grind, how soon, or do you want to actually do some Magma Key stuff. We do have the Tower Key, it kind of creates another double check down below, but I don't think attempting to get 10 key items is anywhere near wise. I don't think it's wise when you have 9 key items at this point, let alone 4. But there are freebies to be had, and maybe you want to do a little shopping. I don't think we have any anti-giant weapons for Cecil yet. We do have Thunderclaws for Yang, of course, but I think Cecil still needs a little help if he wants to be good at a grind.
Yeah, and that might be the impetus for going underground for both our runners, is if they want to buy a poison axe, if they want to buy an ogre axe. And poison axes can be available on the overworld, but ogre axes are only going to be underground. So one of those things, for our runners to look at. Actually, now that I think about it, I think poison axes are also tier 4, but they definitely need to look at that shopping if they are not going to have the offense to get through that grind quickly, because you can do a grind, but it becomes a matter of can I or should I, and that's always a scary thought process as well.
Yeah. And on the topic of shopping, we do have still decent cash influx. John still has a full moon chakram, a ninja blade, and a Gungnir spear all lying around. We know there's no edge or cane to be found this seed, so that's big money if you do want to get your team a little more prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the nice things about the free characters, is that you know exactly who you're buying for, who you're looting for, and who you're selling away from. We see 30 tier 2 pots on JohnBirckhead's side. That is a number that exists, and that really means that we are probably looking at some point just throwing tier 2s at Cecil while he lets everybody go ham on Mac Giants. That being said, maybe our runners decide they want to go to the Feymarch, and then Sheila 1 also has half a forge, and they get the whole forge, and there's sirens there, and the whole thing was just a ruse from the start.
Yeah, love it when sirens pop up in the Kakul shop. We're half an hour into the seed. We had the starting darkness crystal. Everyone's brain has been going, oh goodness, how am I gonna set up my grind? Where are my life potions? Where are my other goodies? I want my double nuke. I want my holy. How far are we going? And then if sirens are, there, you're just like, oh, oh, okay. Although. Are these teams really good? I mean, we have the spell stop. I guess that's enough. But even eggs aren't especially speedy for these teams at this point, right?
No, because part of the problem would be your Palom ends up going last because he's slow as dirt. And so you have to parry 5 times, or just, put him in the middle and hope you get strike first. Neither of those are particularly ideal. So yeah, eggs would not be great for this team because you just don't have dragon killing without, a dragon whip or anything like that. JohnBirckhead sees an ice claw in the shop, does not buy it, but is shopping dwarf, resets out, says nope, there was nothing here, don't care, I'm out. Fleury meanwhile is going into the Feymarch, gonna grab that freebie, do a little shopping of his own. Looks like John is being a lot more thorough in his shopping, though, at least going this kind of clockwise route underground, where Fleury might be going more of a counterclockwise route. So he might want to actually take dwarf if that's the case. Fleury is going to end up there last, which would be a really nice influx of XP. That bandana, not an influx of a key item you want to see from the freebie in the
No.
Feymarch.
We do see illusions for Stealth, though, which will, if you're not doing pure cover strats, this will take a lot of pressure off of Rosa during your grind fight. I did note that Ice Claw, but with Ruby and Elements both out of the pool, your main use for it now would be on Kenatsu, if you're actually breaking the water wall. So I've seen runners reflexively buy all the claws, even if they've already taken care of every boss that they'd be useful against. So that's very good, conscious, active thinking on John's part. But we did see cat claws for Cell and Tamra that John reset out of. That one I'm more dubious on. I think that having a couple of those on this flag set, where Yang you're so reliant on him, it would have been a really good purchase.
Maybe thinking more about what if I find an ogre axe? I need money to afford that
Mm,
first.
yeah, that's true.
And mentioning that, Fleury did find and buy an ogre axe, and John is going to find that shortly here in the Feymarch as well. So that ogre axe is going to be the weapon killing that we need for our Cecil to help pitch in a little bit. The nice part about the ogre axe also is that it allows you to still wear a shield, which is a big deal when you're relying on a Cecil.
hmm And we did see the Feymarch fights as well. They are Magus Sisters at Leviathan and Valvalis at Asura. Those are very much post-grind fights, not pre-grind. So we'll see the four of them later, maybe.
Also, just noticed that John sold a Thunderclaw. I don't know if he had multiple of them or not, though. Uh, that would be very, very interesting if he doesn't have a second one.
Well, if yeah, we were talking also that John may intend to slingshot Yang, in which case, level 11 Yang with the Thunderclaw is not really going to contribute much to the grind anyway. And after the fact, well, you probably don't really need it. Like if he's level 60, who cares what claws he's wearing, right?
That's true. Oftentimes it just adds to your menuing, and we all want to get out of our menu in this game. So definitely makes a lot of sense just not caring about that, just rely on cat claws or who cares claws. But John is setting up his grind now. Fleury gets a package. He's gonna have to keep that. That is key item number 6. Does he ever look at going through and trying to get to 10 from here, or ever peeking that for the demist while burning it down now?
I doubt it. The big problem here, of course, well, one of not a huge problem, but we do have Sand Ruby as an objective as
Right.
well, and so you would be sitting through the package purely for the demist. There's no character at the end of it, and you get credit for the burning of mist before you even walk to Kaipo. So all you're doing is forcing yourself to sit through more cutscene before you could do Sand Ruby if you end up getting that. So doesn't look like that's going to be part of the situation here. And here we see another bit of the broader strategical divergence. Of course, John burned his one siren on Ordeals to get Cecil online and rocking. Fleury here saved it for an egg. But is he going to be able to actually put any of his characters in slingshot range? I'm not sure this is quite enough XP.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It's potentially close. For sure, if he wants them, he has a Sid. Well, Sid wouldn't be able to get slung, but Eddie would. Maybe his Palom is set up in a way where that Palom will be 5 levels behind. Or maybe he just ends up having to take an extra fight or two. Very interesting what he opts to do there. Especially if this Palom doesn't quite get there, because only 4 levels. I don't know that that's going to get Cecil or Rosa over the hump. Yeah, oh, actually, it's
Oh, it's just perfect.
it just
Wow.
got it. Okay.
Okay. uh, I stand corrected. A little worried, but but that's going to be really great for Fleury's grind as well. John's a little ahead in terms of getting there and getting it going. But Fleury will very happily let Palom get slingshotted here.
Yeah, and John is going with a single Palom sling. I think Fleury ultimately is ending up with a single Palom sling as well. John has double Ogre Axe Bros going on with the Sid and the Cecil. So I believe that means he's going to have a little bit less power throughout the seed because that Yang is going to be on Fleury's side. But it means that his grind is likely going to be quite a bit faster because an Ogre Axe Power Shirt Sid, I mean, he doesn't need a lot of levels. He comes with a boatload of strength, and you just stack 20 more on him, maybe a bandana on there as well. That Sid is going to be doing bad things to Mac Giants.
Yeah, I like the play. I mean, a little bit of this is still going to depend on what bosses we end up seeing. Are you... and this also, by the way, reveals to us why John didn't care about keeping any of those claws. Yang was not part of the plan to start with. So, yeah, I kind of like it. It'll be interesting to see which of these ends up taking the edge.
Also worth noting, in the Giant, you can't get encounters on the stairs, right?
I don't think you can. Let me pull up an easy way to look at the
accident chart. Yeah.
Yeah. Next image. No. The 3 stairs tiles are not, well, any of the stair tiles, you are correct. You cannot get an encounter there, so Little
That's what I
wasted
thought.
motion there, but we find the fight. We got the Searcher, we got the Mag Giant. We're in there. We're going.
And we also got Stop coming out, so that's going to let us just kind of do things. I do wonder on Flurry's side, and this is something that I know you are very in tune with and very, very good at setting up. Uh, John is not going to have really the option to get doubles here. Do you think Flurry is going to be able to set up any double life glitches here with Yang power punching? I know, again, you're a lot more well versed in that aspect than I am.
I think absolutely. Like having the Yang in the middle here gives a lot more time for that pointer to rotate through everyone on your team. I bet these power punches probably will do. Yeah, I hate to say the number because I'll of course be wrong, but I'm gonna say probably 4,500, 5,000 damage. And so you go a virus with Palom, a single swing with Cecil, you power punch, and everyone else on the team is just waiting for the right time to throw their life pots. So. Uh, But on the other hand, if you're just tearing through these Mac Giants round after round, you don't necessarily have to be fancy with it, as long as you're being efficient with it.
Yeah, worth noting, John did not get a life glitch there on that Mac Giant. So every time he misses one and Flurry potentially picks up a double is huge for Flurry, making up a little bit of time here. The Sid is doing, like we said, a boatload of damage. We're also getting some real nice damage out of Rosa here. She's popping for about 2k, Sid's doing 3k, Cecil's doing about 3k. But that does leave some weird breakpoints because I want to say Mac Giants have 8,500 health. So it is going to take a fourth action because I think we're just shy of that breakpoint, which is going to be really weird for John here.
Yeah. The good news for John, though, is that with this setup, you don't. We've seen this happen to many runners this tournament, where you have an extra attack queued up with either Sid with a big hammer or Yang with a thunderclaw, and the Mac Giant dies, and then you kill your Searcher, and you've essentially ruined your grind. You'll still get some XP, and you can set up again, of course, but it always hurts. And that is maybe a risk that Flurry has to deal with here. If, on the rotation, the Mac Giant gets killed by someone else, a Power Punch from Yang will one-shot this Searcher. Well, probably one-shot. So that is also a concern that you have to worry about on this other side. You don't want to queue up too many attacks. John doesn't really have to worry about that with this equipment loadout.
And we're getting some slows coming out here. I didn't see this on John's side, but the slows coming out on Flurry's side. The cool thing about slow in this fight is it will stick to the spot the monster spawns in. So one slow now means every Mac Giant that gets summoned from here until the end of time in this fight will also have a stack of slow on it. You get 2 of them out, you have 2 stacks of slow on there. So it's a really cool little thing that, it tethers to the spot rather than the monster.
Absolutely. And you can also use this with other status effects in certain other fights to do some really, quaint grinds. If you put Toad on a Baron guard or the Kaipo officer, you can kill them, life to them back up. They'll still be in their little froggy form, unable to do anything about it. So the fact that those persist across the spot as the monster gets rezzed by its friends, or by you with your own options, very handy tool to have in your kit.
Definitely. And we are seeing some power punching coming out from Flurry here. Let's see what we get for damage, because I think this is his first power punch. That is a nice buffer there. That should be a double. That's you said 5k, 4,500 to 5k. You couldn't have been more spot on, my friend.
All right. Whew. I get to keep my commentator card today. Thank goodness.
And I've already lost count of what we're doing Mac Giant wise, but I love to see the double life glitch there, as we talked about, kind of, Yang in the middle there. Gets those 2-for-1s. John having to do more of a systematic, whittling down here, while Flurry is able to just kind of throw a virus, slap with Cecil, throw a power punch, and throw 2 life potions. It's really going to be interesting to see who's out of this grind first, because even though John was in here first, there's a chance Flurry gets out of this first.
It's also another little point of contrast here is that although John is slingshotting that Palom, delayed picking him up, Flurry's had the Palom helping out the whole game and is still getting the slingshot on him as well. So I wonder if a bit of this is also going to come down to their choice of siren use. You know, you don't think about it necessarily having a huge impact on your grind fight, but we're actually going to see it play out a little bit here tonight.
Yeah, and that's always one of the things with the free characters is what do you do with those free characters and how do you best go about making sure that you're going to get your power now and later.
Yeah. And sorry, Twitch chat, it looks like we're having a little bit of Discord connectivity issues. Okay, it looks like everything's stabilized again. And I think we actually did just see a power punch for a lot more damage, in fact. Yeah, okay, now Yang's doing like 6,400 damage, so that's pretty ridiculous, and that means that Cecil, even hitting for around 3,100, you can just 2-tap these with the right order. So I do have to get my commentator card revoked. I severely underestimated the power punch damage, but that is me. Okay, well, if Cecil's only doing 2,500, you're still requiring a third hit. Cecil, help us out here. I know it's an axe, but it is an ogre axe.
Yeah, Yang's still doing what he needs to get it there in 2 taps. So, only 8,500 HP. That's going to get the job done. So, Fleury really making up a lot of time with an expert grind here, and he's actually done. He says, "I am good to go. I've got what I need, and this Yang is going to end this." So Fleury is going to be up the Sheila 1 check. He's going to be up a little bit of time on the grind. Looks like John is done with his grind as well. That's 483,200 XP on Fleury's side. And that is going to be, 970,000-ish for that Palom, which is more than enough for Nuke. John going to be right behind him. We have the stop coming out there. But we'll see. Also, do we get maybe some cabins here? You'll love some free camping gear from doing these Mac Giants as well.
Absolutely. Now, this is also another thing that I've seen, another point of contrast in grinding. With Rydia Hero and a slingshot on the table for your other mages, how far are you grinding here? Like, we know that Rosa doesn't have Holy here. Palom is ready to roll. But we've not seen, let's think about it, we've not seen Artemis Bow, Heroin Rogue, Crystal Ring, any of those things. Rydia's agility is still going to be a little finicky for the Zeromus fight at this rate as well. And if you're not doing, if you're doing double nuke and holy, you don't care about agility so much. You turn your battle speed down, you do your reflect, you have a good time. This team still needs a lot of XP to get to where it's a really comfy Zeromus fight.
Yeah, but the nice part about that is, with Fleury landing right away, he's going to the moon, he's going to get the rest of that XP. Or the vast majority of it another He'll pull 100k, he hopes, from the Ribbon Room, another 100 between Crystal Sword and Masa, and another 100 between the rest of it. So that's 300 remaining. I mean, Rydia might need a little bit more than that, which you can probably get from the rest of your checks once you're at 10 key items. Maybe he has to take a monster box or two, which, oh no, a chance at a holy sword on the moon. Oh, woe be me. So one of those things where, like, worst case scenario, you're crystal sword hunting while looking for XP. It's kind of a win-win. Like, there's a lot of good stuff up on the moon.
And it looks like both runners headed straight forward. This makes perfect sense. We do have 2 objectives here. Maybe there's a little hesitation about not full clearing it without a pass, but again, your team has the power. You're 46 minutes into the seed. We're probably going to see full clears of the moon on both sides here.
Yeah, and worth noting on JohnBirckhead's side, he got 576,000 XP from the grind, so he is going to be much closer to having that Rydia, naturally online. And that also means his Rosa is going to be probably a Ribbon Room away from having the white spell also. Not as impactful, of course, already having Nuke on Palom, but it's still, worth noting that 100k XP is pretty easy to get from Mac Giants and a little harder from everything else. It just wouldn't be a free enterprise seed without our boy, old Googly Eyes, on the moon somewhere.
I mean, we were listing the enemies we had not seen, and here's one of them. So let's just figure out the optimum moon for everyone's enjoyment. Antlion here, Baigen, Ogopogo, Evil Wall, and Alt Gauntlet, and I'll be just about set. I think that's what I want for my 5-course moon meal.
Let's give them a treat though, and let's make it a crystal sword gauntlet so that way it's required. All right, that's pretty evil of me. I'm sorry.
It's a little gross. It's a little gross.
But we do see these nukes coming out. Blink's going up as well. Blinking Yang there. Always interesting to blink Yang because his HP is blink. Uh, but, Cecil's still standing strong. Crystal Armor also went on Cecil for Fleury, so he's just kind of banking on Cecil doing cover strats as opposed to being a damage source, which again makes sense. Your Palom is hitting for 4 times what your Cecil can, and there's that Sand Ruby. So now if Fleury wants to get real cheeky with the package and do the actual boss check, he can do that. He has the package Sand Ruby combo, but that Sand Ruby just being an objective as it is, also just fine.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll note that with that, we are up to 4 available objectives currently. And this is kind of cheeky, leaving the moon. We know, again, Maga Sisters and Val at Feymarch. We know that Dwarf Castle has a Golbez in slot 2. We don't know what's at either of our K-main checks at Lower Babel. Kind of interesting. Leaving that Crystal Sword altar for now, we don't have a pass, so there is some merit in this. If you go ahead and get 5 objectives done, you just do that for your 6 and walk to Zeromus. This could be the big divergence that determines this race if John commits to the rest of the moon.
I think this is where that 100,000 XP difference comes into play as well, that John's going to be close enough by the end of the moon from that extra XP on the Mac Giants, where Fleury, what he's going to do, I think, is get to 10 key items and then go blow up the rest of the moon. For him, that will get him the XP he needs without having to take any extra boxes or things like that. And the likelihood of everything being on the moon is not that high, let's be real. While we do need a lot of terminal key items, all of a sudden we know where the package is. We know where the Sand Ruby is. So it's really down to just the Forge, which, that's 2 bits to get 1 objective, and the Pinktail. So realistically, you only have 1 terminal key item left that is probably required in the Pinktail. So suddenly the moon, with that Sand Ruby showing up, I get it from Fleury's side. You route in the 10 key items and you route in, or rather route out, those terminal key items since you've kind of found what you need already.
Going ahead and knocking out Octomammoth in the Super Cannon room. Octomammoth, we talk about, bosses you want to see one place or the other. Octomammoth on the moon can hit really hard, but of course with the slowdown functionality as you cut off the tentacles, often not a real threat. It'll annoy you a little bit, but you can usually get ahead and win easily through attrition. So yet another boss that might have been nice to see in all these moon fights. It's gonna be real funny if our restreamer did roll like the full suite of garbage fights up here.
I mean, I would be here for it. I'm sure Allie would be here for it. We know that ultimately the race bot controls all that. There's nothing human about it. Oh no, that's just a troll though. Demus on the hook route. I don't think it could be hard required. Could actually, if Sealed Cave, or if Luca, Hook, and half a Forge comes from that demist.
Well, no. Hook cannot come from that demist. You must have Hook to come from that demist. So I think you're right. I think that it cannot fully gate the seed. It's still just a really funny thing to see. Because we already have the rat tail. Yeah.
Here's something at the ribbon room that you don't want to find. It's our friend CPU. Now, this is interesting, though. It'd be a lot more interesting if we had, like, I don't know, Leviathan or Bahamut. Maybe you just go full YOLO. You go for some PK strats on these orbs and just full send and go for it. Fleury, meanwhile, just getting stoned to hit on those Baron guards, and that's another free boss, by the way, rewarded with a ninja shirt, so there's a little bit of money. But yeah, this moon, even though CPU is air quotes free, this is like about as long a free fight as you're ever gonna find. Ooh, float strats.
This is as a grind option becomes a lot more appealing when you do already have 10 key items. Incidentally, like, okay, sure, sure. I'll eat a few globe nines. We'll deal with, about half a dozen attackers and defenders, but yeah, taking the direct way out here. Nothing cheeky when you've already done your mag giants, but it's fun when seats allow it. It's fun when seats allow it.
Oh, for sure. I've had the honor of losing to a CPU grind at the Ribbon Room. Zoe Vermillion, MX VX, I believe now, was able to defeat me in as I think it was a ZZ4 match, courtesy of orb grinding at the Ribbon Room. Had a calculator to let them know exactly what was going to be needed to get through that and pick up exactly the amount of XP needed. And it was one of those things where I was like, I ain't even mad I lost that. That's super cool.
If you're going to lose, hopefully you're losing to someone doing it stylishly. Like
Exactly.
it dulls the pain a little bit. Fleury pulling a Baron key from the Tower key reward, but headed into Dwarf Castle. Again, we know Golbez is in slot 2. We know there's no character reward, but this is still a K main check that's kind of along your path while you're going around here underground. I don't know how to feel about it. Dwarf Castle has definitely, bitten people one way or the other, and it seems to routinely be one of the last checks that people are making. Well, I have commentated multiple races where this was pending at the end, and it's like, is it going to be dwarf or is it going to be this one final moon check? So, getting it out of the way a little sooner rather than later.
I will say I don't mind it, if only for the reason that Bahamut can be acquired from dwarf, so can Leviathan. But if Bahamut were to pop up, that would take Eurydia from being like, when do I get nuke because you're just kind of a stinker until I get it, to, oh, wait, this is good now. What's not good is on JohnBirckhead's side, we got some scary stuff happening. This nuke kind of needs to kill, or this is going to get a little out of hand on his side. And there goes the orb. Hash brown calculated.
Yeah, it seems that the Starveil wore off on Cecil, where John was doing some reflect strats, and he blasted his own Paladin to Kingdom Come. The good news for John is there's the Luca key. Here in the booth, we now know where 5 of the objectives are, and that could be a massive advantage. Fleury has elected to forego the bottom of that moon.
Yeah, the Luca key really would make me happy about the moon dive, just picking up something extra. Because it means you've gotten the sand ruby. I mean, it's a required objective. Everyone's getting that sand ruby that plays the seed. But picking up that Luca key, if someone leaves the moon, you now feel, okay, I have direction when I get back to Earth as well. Maybe I don't even care about 10 key items now. One of those things where, John could conceivably finish this seed if he were to find a hook. At what, 9, 10 key items right around there. Maybe the Chris would be his 10th or something. So it's one of those situations where if the moon just has the goods, the seed just kind of told you where to go and what to do from the start. But it's tough because I totally get it from Fleury's perspective and I get it from John's perspective. And that means the moon's hard required with that adamant rock from the White Spear altar.
Yeah, another required key item. I mean, if you're going 8 for 8, another required key item pops out. Bottom of moon looking very valuable here. We're sticking around. We're heading down to the Ogopogo altar as well.
Yeah, and those dolls, given that we have Quake and also appearing at the lowest of the HP spots, really, really nice to just be done with and be done with quickly. So that's a boon for runners going down here. But let us see. We always want to see the delay here. That was not a delay, though, and we get Wow. Okay. Where are these rude bosses?
Yeah, the Antlion was a little bit of a tease. I mean, CPU was no picnic, but it also wasn't, the big scary nasty things that we love to see at the bottom of the moon for people.
So it would have been interesting here on John's side if he wanted to get cheeky. You kind of talked about Life 2 earlier. He could have gone for like a Toad there, for example, and then a week on the officer. Bop to the officer and then Life 2 with Rosa to keep bringing the officer back over and over again to maybe finish up his grind, get Rydia to nuke. Opted not to, picks up a glass hat, might reset out of that. I'm not certain. Looks like he might want it for Cecil just in case.
Yeah. And 33,000 XP for what was one spell cast, also. Not too bad, not too bad. Just a little hike after the fact. Fleury picked up the pan as the Dwarf Castle reward. So another K summon, another K main check unlocked. This should lead him pretty cleanly back to the overworld and then to Baron. But he needs to find something quick. John is picking up all these required key items on the moon, and he doesn't need a lot more to hit go mode.
Yeah, Flurry's going to need to have some sort of value pop out. Pass is value because the pan coming from Dwarf and John already having done the moon. Dwarf is going to be, as you said, kind of one of those last location type thoughts, especially with our runners knowing Golbez is there. I don't really see a world in which John is going to ever go do Dwarf, which means he's also never getting that pass. So that is value. Here's an Ogopogo at the Crystal Sword Altar. That's a nice gross boss for our runners. I like this.
Yeah, the Ogopogo's vanilla spot has both extremely high physical attack and extremely high magic attack. Wyvern spot, still extremely high physical, no magical, but Ogopogo doesn't care. All its magical damage is percentage based anyway. It does not care about taking the hit on that front.
No, and the Rosa going down, getting bopped for 1600 in the back row would be classified as not ideal. We are trying to get people up, but there's a big wave a coming, and this Cure 4 needs to fire right about now. I think he does have time to get it off. So John will get through this Ogopogo, making great use of reflect strats here. And we see the pan giving the hook. That is huge for Flurry. So that means that John might be in last location city here. That dwarf is going to come real late for him, if at all.
Yeah, so John's going to really need to get all the tools to complete the other 6 objectives. At this point, that means, I think just the Legend Sword, though, right? Like, we're already clear on everything else. So
Mhm.
it's still just a situation of John needs 1 key item, and Flurry now, I think, only needs 1 key item,
True.
courtesy of that incoming Rat Tail turn-in. Yeah.
And I mean,
So,
this rat tail could just give the pink tail. It could be, a lazy dwarf situation. Or it could just be on the moon, so both of our lunar objectives had value behind them, because why not?
and that's huge. That's John's go mode. That's all he needed. Right? Because we have Forge, Package, Sand Ruby, Sealed Cave. Yep, who cares about the stinky
Well,
hook?
he needs to do Sheila 1,
Which one was Sheila 1 again?
the
Oh,
package.
that was the package. Gotcha, gotcha. Thank you, thank you.
So if he goes to like Feymarch or something because he's like, oh hey, I'll go, do the bosses down there because I did my grind and I'm strong and I want to beat things. He could get in trouble fading, being like, oh well, I'm gonna wait till I get the pan. Or he, could just do the thing, which is, the mantra for Enterprise: do your objective and your freebies. We'll see which path he takes.
Yeah. So all John has to do is make a Sheila 1 check, and he's in business. Uh, I kind of like going ahead and knocking out the Sand Ruby check right quick, though, because you know that the package will close it off. This is also your full heal before you do go make more checks, because it's probably going to admittedly go to Sealed Cave. It's an objective. It's on the way. You'd like to have all your health and MP back for it. So I like going ahead and taking a little Sand Ruby detour. Flurry, meanwhile, headed on into Baron Castle. Makes a lot of sense. You did fetch this from the Tower Key. And again, at this point, looking purely for a pink tail.
Yeah, Pinktail would be Flurry's go mode, and Baron does give him the best odds. He realistically only has 3 things to chase on the blue planet. Well, I guess 4. because demist is a thing. But Baron Basement, Twin Harp, and demist kind of. But I think that demist is Fleury's last location.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Having gotten the pass by coming back and doing Dwarf Castle, I think that really does need to motivate you to get back to the moon. You were hoping to only do one walk to the bottom, and the pass guarantees you only have to do one walk to the bottom.
And John doing the cover my butt strat of I forgot about Waterfall and Mist Cave. Let me do that real quick before I get ahead of myself on everything else.
Very, very good idea. This is one of those things that if you do forget and you lose to it, you, we talked about how if you lose, you want to lose to someone doing something very cheeky, very cool, and just not checking Waterfall or Mist Cave usually ain't it.
Yeah, and we also see John going to Mount Hobbs. This is actually an interesting one. I completely forgot about this with free characters on. I don't think anybody went here, and it's the Dark Imp. So there was yet another Earthen freebie.
Yep, yep. I forgot about it too. I did not even. I completely blanked on it.
And Fleury, meanwhile, found Baigan on the Baron throne, a little French vanilla there. But Fleury really hankering for a Pinktail, probably needs to come from this or the Baron basement. JohnBirckhead is going to Forge, makes a lot of sense. And what are we hoping for here? I guess Stardust Rods are probably the best thing.
Yeah, because you're not going to find better. I guess you could find a defense sword for Cecil, but that's not really like that's not the exciting outcome. I do think a Stardust Rod for Palom would be good. Rydia's going to get her Mist Whip for plus 15.
Mhm.
Maybe apples are the best thing to see.
What about both runners getting black shirts at the same time? One from the Forge shop and the other from Baron Castle.
I mean, well, we did have. I think we've only seen one Sork robe, right? So give that to Rosa. Give the black shirts to the kiddos. They can get decked out in their Hot Topic finery, and they will feel mightier for the wardrobe.
And we see, as expected, Fleury going to Baron Basement. Makes a ton of sense. He is chasing what he has collected on Earth, which is everything except what he wants, with the exception of that hook, basically. And John chasing that Luca key from the ribbon room. So both runners doing as expected. And we do see Dr. Luge here. I still feel like we are short on Rude bosses in this seed.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did, yeah, because Baigan ended up being at the Kenanzo spot, so no real difficulty there. This one's nice because there's a lot of dialogue and cutscene, and it doesn't do a whole lot of direct damage. It can be annoying at high HP spots, but splitting the Odin spot up into these portions, not an issue. I guess Evil Wall is probably the most annoying thing at this point, but I mean, we've seen everywhere that the key items are, and it's just not on the menu.
Yeah. What is on the menu for our runners, though, is like ultimately this is a pretty comfy seed for a relatively difficult flag set that I think they both have navigated very well. And we also got our divergence that everybody loves so much. One runner went Moon, the other went Earth, and it might be that rare situation where the Earth doesn't actually pay out, as we've seen so much over the years in Free Enterprise that it's always Earth, Earth, Earth. Crystal Ring from Baron Basement, Bahamut Orb from Sealed Cave. One of our runners is walking that out. Both of them maybe, because as you touched on earlier, Rydia's agility is weird. That Crystal Ring will shore it up quite a bit.
Yeah, she's at 23 right now. That Crystal Ring will put her past the 28 threshold, which you love for your Zeromus fights. Probably don't want it on her just yet, because again, she's not the heavy hitter on the team, but you'll be happy to have that in your pocket once you get to the final fight.
And John just reset out of Sealed Cave seeing the Evil Wall. I think he just remembered it's an objective. So he's going to give Fleury a little bit of time back there and be like, I done goofed. Let me go get that Bahamut Orb again and actually do this check this time. It was Vanilla Evil Wall though, so that's always cute.
Yeah. But we do see Flurry here making a very long check. We have this moon with a guaranteed objective on it. We have the pass, but Flurry is headed to Twin Harp. So, going to be giving John a lot of time here to get that Sheila 1 check done and hit go mode himself.
Yeah, I think ultimately, if this is the pink tail exactly, we still have a race on our hands. John giving a tiny bit of time back here, and not going after Sheila one immediately, though he has been doing objectives, as it were. Flurry kind of needs this to be the pink tail though, or we're probably looking at game one to John. Zeromus pending, because as we all know, Sea Hero is still all sorts of fun and mysteries, and John is not going to have the agility gear, at least that I've seen, for his Rydia. So going to be looking like a 25 agility, probably battle speed 3 Zeromus fight, something like that.
Yeah, but also John does notably have access here now to uh, once John does that, he'll have his 10 key items, and he has an open sealed cave here.
True.
So even though he's out of lower moon bosses to fight, getting Riddy up to nuke and then having nuke holy for the team, I think he's in great shape here. But we have the tower key that's a temptation. We have Fey March with all these levels that's a temptation. There are a lot of things to delay him making that Sheila 1 to go mode check.
And love the use here. Flurry using a kamikaze, parried off Palom's turn, getting to Rosa's turn, throwing Rosa at Palom. We get a perish, and we also are going to get some music. So that's going to be fun. What are you hoping for here?
Oh, I don't know. They're okay. They're not all so good. There are a few that I'm like, oh no, why is this? Why are you doing this? Help! But no, I'm always excited for a Twin Heart. So I'm gonna mute myself. I'm gonna turn on the stream audio and see what the song is tonight. Flurry cleans up the D-Lunars with little difficulty. Even the spell defense at that spot can't handle a high-level Palom Fire 3.
Ooh.
Hits jackpot exactly. John, meanwhile, is going after that tower key. It's a 2-for-1 on the K main checks. You cannot fault this play at all. But Flurry goes gambling and gets the payoff. All he has to do now is clean up Mist and Kaipo and head to that Crystal Sword altar.
Yeah, so this just got very, very interesting because John, in all likelihood here, I mean, it's probably a 50-50 that he either does Sheila 1 or he does the Fey March after this. And if he goes Fey March, I think we're suddenly looking at a Flurry game 1 here, barring a Zeromus disaster, how quickly the tides can turn.
Yeah, and even worse for John is the tower key will give the Baron key here, and that's even more temptation because it's another 2-for-1, K main and K summon. So some pitfalls here, and I did see Garen in the chat pointing out that actually the best thing for John would be to do Dwarf Castle of all things, because that'll lead to both the pass and the Rat Tail turn in, and save him rewalking the moon to boot.
Yeah, definitely true that, Dwarf, while being a check he absolutely won't want to do,
Would be the good one, yeah.
would be the one to do. Uh, And we see Fleury. I think he hesitated there for a second. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go burn the town down with the package." I was like, "Wait, nope, nope. We've lived this life before because we've all lived this life before. Sand Ruby first, because otherwise you got to come back here and then do the character cutscene, and we still haven't seen the gauntlet."
Yeah. I will note also that in this situation with only one of multiple items to go mode, uh, John doing top of tower first. If either package or hook had come from there, he would have known he didn't need to do tower room. If you
Mhm.
have two or more to go, whatever. Pick your favorite. You want to do tower room first, just in case it's a cheeky Ogopogo. But absolutely the right thing to do here when you only have the one item to go, in my opinion.
Definitely, yeah, I definitely agree with that because it's either Pinktail or package for John. He's looking for with two ways to go mode, like you said. That's 100%. The play to make is to go to the top first, get that guaranteed look in at what you're doing, and then go from there. Flurry shows us our character today at the package isn't a character at all. It's just a cute little piggy.
And Flurry's been hoarding crystals, somehow managed to have a package of 8 of them, selling counterfeit crystals on the black market. And I like the blue fire effect. That's really good looking.
It would have been really cool if he got the crystal from this check while the crystal was burning down the village, but we're one objective away from that, so darn.
Flurry, why didn't you go do the crystal sword altar first? We would have loved to have seen it.
We could get it from John still if he goes Sheila, but probably Baron next. Chase what he's going after? Nope. Feymarch appears to be it.
Yeah, I think that there is a pretty good temptation there that if you are going to Baron Key, okay, I'm going back up top. Let me go ahead and do
Mhm.
Sheila 1 on the way to Baron. But here it's again the early grind, the levels kind of betraying our runners. Uh, if you are capable of any check, it means that it's a lot harder to fade them.
Yes. Yeah, because it's like, oh, do your freebies, do your objectives. Well, the problem is when everything is free, you then prioritize density.
Yeah,
And this is the densest thing remaining. It's two boss checks. No, they're not particularly great because I believe one is Val, uh, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a situation where yeah, those levels definitely getting John in some trouble here. Dwarf or Sheila 1 would have been the play, but he's going to get Baron. And then where did that Twin Harp even come from?
Twin Harp I think was it Sheila 2? No, was it? It was either Baron 1 or Sheila 2. No,
Okay.
maybe it wasn't even that. I don't even know. Where's our tracker? He knows.
Our
Anthony,
tracker,
help us
Antidale, doing a wonderful job, by the way. Keeping us honest here while we're trying to figure out where key items are. Antidale just knows. And Allie doing a very good job of keeping things from setting on fire. I say that as Discord hiccups. That's a Discord problem, not an Allie problem. So thank you to everyone behind the scenes, and of course our runners as well, and everyone participating and having a great old time in chat too. Everybody is wonderful, and it's a pleasure to be in the booth with you, Inven.
Oh yeah, Possum. Great doing comms with you. Always a pleasure. Uh, uh, almost tempts me to go learn some more Worlds Collide so I could hop on in the booth with you there. Uh, the communities are very fortunate to get your insight into the strategy, into the mechanics, into just how to optimize your gameplay. So always, always lovely to be in the booth with you.
Absolutely. And John, meanwhile, showed us something that's not lovely, and that is trying to nuke the center sister here, Cindy, and the wall went up first. So John said, you know what? I'm just going to reset and we're going to quake. And I believe we're going to get some cover strats here. This is not too bad magic-wise. Rydia would disagree. Kind of unlucky getting a 2-for-1 there on her. But she's also the hero, so kind of whatever. Quake is going to be the name of the game here, and then some Runax hits, because I think we have a Runax somewhere. But meanwhile, Flurry, despite all of the weirdness of this seed and how things kind of played out, Flurry going for his 6th objective, and he's going to get a crystal once he gets through this Ogopogo. How is he on levels? I assume he's going to be fine after this, but do we actually know where he's at?
Let's see here. Rydia still needs a hefty bit of XP.
Hmm.
Uh, However, this is a situation where maybe you just go ahead and rock with hybrid strats. Iridia does hit that 28 agility via the crystal ring. Rosa is rocking a white shirt for the ultimate in your white mage defense, even if you don't have, 55 levels on her. Should get holy from this, but may not even care because if you're doing hybrid strats, the Zerking and the Cure 4s are going to be the more important part. So yeah, we may see no grind at all after this fight, as long as I think you get the level 48 on Rosa here.
Yeah, Rosa needs to survive this fight. That's kind of the big one. We see Ogopogo kind of taking chunks out of Fleury's party here. Rosa not getting her turn to pop. We need this Cure 4 to fire. I think we're okay. Yeah, okay, good. Yang barely surviving. Iridia one punch away from disaster, but we should be good now as long as Palom doesn't get bopped. JohnBirckhead not getting the value he wanted. I think that was an Artemis bow. That kind of sets Iridia's agility a bit too high to be useful. Probably takes her from about 24 in his case, 25 to 34, 35, which is not ideal. We should see some nukes being reflected here, though. That's a big wave that comes out, and that's a double on Fleury's side. I think we're down to just Rosa, and that's going to be a little bit of time back here.
Yeah. Ogopogo. Let's take that crystal ring back off. I would like a slower anchor, please.
Oh, and heads up learning Asura here. This is the fight for it.
That's really cute. That's one of those adjustments that's very good, being aware of what you have in your inventory and what may have gone wrong with the fight. Thinking, let me adjust my hero agility even just a little bit to see if I can make my turn order better. Realizing, oh yeah, I can turn her into 2/3 of a white mage if I need to. Good heads up, remembering what you have and what your options are.
Yeah, and this Val kind of laughing at John a little bit here, as Val is wont to do. Decides, hey, I'm gonna just bop everybody. Thankfully hasn't bopped Cecil yet, but also Asura with a bit of a troll there. I mean, we say that. Went with Life Face, but honestly that might not be the worst thing, although I guess this Cecil actually is Zerked. He is our damage for this fight. So yeah, that's actually not great that Asura missed. So let's try again, 2/3 of the time every time. Or, we get that 1 in 3 again. Rosa's back alive, but that's not exactly what John was looking for there.
Yeah, both Iridias on both teams not carrying their weight in the respective fights.
Fleury looks much better set up here, though. Has Zerk on Yang already, I believe, is going to get a blink up on Yang as well. And so he should be through this on the back of the Punch Mage, just kind of doing, level 45-ish Punch Mage things. That's almost 3,000 damage with what, like a Poison Claw, Thunder Claw? Mm-hmm. Not bad.
Yeah. And this is another one of those situations where Yang actually having, an agility stat, little advantage over the Cid, of course. I will say that I do like the Cid being in position 5. If you do get him zerked up, then pointer comes back to your team. You're taking all your other actions. Hopefully he gets into the queue, and it mitigates a bit of his slow agility. So John definitely putting the Cid to use in both these Feymarch fights, but Artemis Bone and Elixir at the 80-minute mark, you now start to get real worried.
Yeah, if you were still in, the round of, I don't know, 32, I don't think there was one in this tournament, the round of 64 and Swiss, whatever it would be, maybe you still think, okay, I might be able to just outplay my opponent. That's not going to be the case here anymore. These two are very evenly matched. And this is about to be a big fat feels bad on John's side, because he is going to be about to get that package from Sheila 1. While Fleury has his crystal, he is in go mode. He does not look to be taking a grind. Got his legend sword, but I do believe we might be going to the big bad final place of the game, and we might be able to do it in a swaggy style with this Lunar Whale. It looks like it's exactly what we're gonna do.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it feels like it moves really slow, but if you don't need to go to multiple places, this is fine. Because the time it takes to walk out of the well, you'd be taking it to hop into your airship, and then you'd be using the airship takeoff animation, the airship landing animation. So this is fine as long as you don't intend to take another fight. If
Mhm.
you have any concern that you need to go get more levels, you might have a bad time with this. Not that we have good options on the blue planet anyway. And yeah, this is looking like it's going to very much be hybrid strats. We have a Yang in the middle, probably be Crystal Throw, Rosa Zerk. Cecil probably nerfs or Star Veils, and Palom starts throwing nukes. And Rydia, well, she knows Asura. That'll help.
I mean, she's got, a Miss Whip, and she's got Ace 3.
Yeah, yeah, it
It'll do
helps.
like
It helps.
4K. It helps a little. Chat is like all sorts of full of like bunch of flags and whose butts and all sorts of stuff. What is happening here?
Well, at this point in the lifetime of Free Enterprise and all its fun little forks, no one's replaced Zeromus, and no one has moved Zeromus elsewhere. But we do throw on a lovely new sprite. So many recommendations from and victory sprites from the community over the last 6 years. And folks are excited to see which one we have here, and we'll see it as soon as this crystal gets tossed.
And speaking of crystals getting tossed, John is going to get his crystal from this here crystal burning down the town.
I'm
So
actually more
hi.
interested in this cutscene than in who's Aromasis.
I think it's phenomenal. We get the blue flames, we get the sparkles, we get all of this, and I guess we also, are going to figure out who has a tuchus that we're going to put in the microwave tonight.
It's a
I
shame
don't
that
think I did that right.
I was just thinking that it'd be really great if Tuchus and Ruckus rhymed because they look like they would, kinda.
Yeah.
Like, whose is the Tuchus that we're gonna bring the Ruckus? No, not quite, not quite. Sorry, Wu Tang Clan, I apologize. And it's a space beetle and rocks.
Yeah. Although every time you attack this, at least in this game, it's not going to heal itself for 6,000 health. So, this is going to be a lot better for our runners tier.
Yeah.
Good old Yu Yevon, the air quote final boss of Final Fantasy X in the largest possible air quotes.
Yeah, and we do see the white shirt there proving its merit. Rosa only taking 1,100 from the nuke, with Big Bangs capped at 1,200. Even if you didn't have magic defense, she is looking to be very safe and sound for when this first one comes out. Still throwing the elixir anyway. I don't hate it. If Rosa goes down in this fight, you are going to have a very bad time. So keeping her standing, very high priority here. And the Big Bang was a little bigger than I thought it would be. I don't think she evaded a single roll of it, even with the gear.
Yeah, it was pretty spicy on Rosa, on Rydia, of all people, taking well over 1,000 there. And also on Cecil, Yang actually did like nearly as good a job as Palom there, kind of surprisingly. But the fight going well so far for Fleury. Will want to get a Cure 4 out at some point, but the nukes are flying. Just kidding. He's going to wait, maybe throw a white here. He has better luck. Going for slow, actually. I like this. We don't have Silk Web, so we get 2 slow casts out. That'll be huge, especially when the Q is getting buffered with these Zerkers and just tossing these spells. Zeroma's not really going to do much if there's 2 slows out there.
Yeah, and the other great thing too is, again, realizing that Asura summon was in play means that Rydia does kind of get to take over the role of White Mage here. Freeze up Rosa's turns, can get a Zerk on Cecil at this point. He's not really bringing the physical damage like Yang is, but if you want to, you can get him entering the queue like that. Like you said, you can throw a Holy, which with Lunar Staff White Shirt is going to be very good damage as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an unnerfed Big Bang.
Oh my!
Yeah, okay, Rosa, sorry, you're the white mage after all. Get back to work.
Rydia and Palom both taking 2,200. That was not on the list of things I thought was going to happen in this fight. Even if they have no clothes on that can protect them at all, no black shirts, no sork robes, a mist whip alone, plus Iridia's natural stats, I am shocked she took over 2,000 damage there.
Yeah, and I guess this makes it good news that that Fleury Cecil is a little wimpy here. Freed him to throw the life potion so that Rosa can then do the curing instead of having to pull double duty. Uh, so yeah, it's kind of interesting because the characters on the team are being a little more flexible, having to fulfill a variety of tasks, which is what you see when you don't have, the full grind all the way to level 55 on everyone, especially on Sea Hero seeds. So everyone's having to go outside their comfort zone a little bit here.
Yeah, one of the beauties, I suppose, of Sea Hero is that you do end up with situations still where Zeromus fights can get a little sticky, and that's, this fight should still be fine. We get really good ordering there from Fleury, the Black Hole into a Star Veil, into a Cure 4 to a Star Veil to a nuke, all just perfectly queued up there. Very good knowledge of the Zeromus script to kind of recover this and hopefully not be left hanging, after another big bang. We do see a nuke. That's probably the second best target. Cecil would have been the best since he's got a Veil up. But otherwise, even with a moment of panic there, fight going relatively well here.
Yeah, and not even taking the time to heal up Yang, maybe just assuming that after the Big Bang we get a Cure 4 off, maybe hoping that the holy damage is just the better way to take things. We do see nukes coming out as well. So hybrid strats in a nutshell, your biggest hitters, your biggest reflectors, everyone all hands on deck.
Yeah, I think Fleury kind of saying this Yang has not been all that impressive. Even while Zerked, he's doing like 3k, so maybe those white spells from Rosa, while they do take more time, are just going to be more solid and just going to keep tossing those spells rather than, dealing with Zerking that Yang. Though I think we did see a Zerk come out there. We do see a reflected nuke. We did see another shake as well. This is going to be an unnerfed Big Bang.
Yeah, and a very low roll from Palom's nuke there. So, and with John entering the fight here, a wipe on Fleury's side puts this right back in his court. How high is this Big Bang going to roll?
This is only an 8 roll, so it shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, everyone lives, but the Cure 4 is again queued up before we can get a Wombo combo. So I think Fleury is in the clear here. Unless something really, really weird happens, he should be fine from this point on. To close out this fight. Rocks can always happen, weird things can always happen, but it's pretty unlikely at this point. Yeah, there's rocks already. This one's in the bag for Fleury.
Yeah, and what a close match at the end. I love looking at the objective tracker and seeing that all 8 are accounted for between our runners. It's always a delight. But GG's to Fleury coming in just under 90 minutes. That's what you'd like to see, a good 90-minute race. 129.18 takes game 1, and we'll see if we can get him in here for an interview.
Yeah, a little bit of revenge from the OMG round of 32, I want to say it was, where they got to play. So gets the first pip on JohnBirckhead here. Will Fleury make another triumphant return to, a top 8, a top 4, a top 2, as he's done so many times in the past? And there he is now, Fleury joining us. GG's Fleury, very well run. 129.18 your final time. Kind of give us your thoughts about the seed. How you feeling?
Was a little worried that Moon was gonna be a better answer than what I did. Any seed where you end up doing Harp and Baron and Zot, I think those are the spots you want to avoid. But otherwise, I thought it was a pretty straightforward seed. The only real gaffe I had was forgetting to switch over from Crystal Armor to Power Shirt for the Z fight. So, kind of had to improvise, but...
That's why Cecil wasn't zerking up. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We thought for a moment that maybe you were just keeping Cecil as your safety flex to make sure he could still put Star Veils up for the reflections, do the life potions so Rosa wouldn't have to do double duty. But yeah, crystal armor, that definitely explains it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that would have been the plan after the first black hole. But yeah, forgetting to do that probably made my Z fight a little longer than it needed to be. Ogo's a jerk. I don't know what I was thinking. Put on the crystal ring, making it fight harder. I was like, oh, let's get the 28 agility now. That didn't work. But yeah, otherwise it felt pretty straightforward. The other thing I was worried about was whether or not a Rydia summon would be spiked, because I did not find one, and I decided to stop looting after the treasury. Was there one found?
Not that we saw.
Not until very late in the seed. John did find one as the reward for doing Sealed Cave.
Ah, okay.
Which at that point, who cares? But yeah. So no early summon spikes for the Rydias, and why did you elect to quit looting for that? Like, was it just because of what you'd found, how the party was looking, or was it just it wasn't a risk you cared to take?
Yeah, it felt like too much of a risk, and with the starting darkness, you're like, all right, the grind is going to come sooner or later, and as soon as the grind is done, spiking that doesn't matter, really. So, just decided to go for it.
Kind of going back to that, I have two questions for you, kind of grind adjacent. We noticed, and we were concerned about this in the booth, but maybe this was just a brilliant hashtag calculated moment from you. Were you worried at all that your Palom was not going to be in slingshot range after that egg?
Nah. And if he was, I could have taken just one fight. I've generally done that enough in practice where if he goes down as soon as he gets virus, which is why I paused on the Dark Elf fight to let him go down, as long as he's at 19 and your party can get one siren in, it's usually very close enough to where you can take like a black lizard fight and you'll be fine. So I wasn't too worried about it.
Gotcha. So there you go, folks. Know your limits and your XP routing for your Palom. That you can take him through the early game and still succeed in a sling on him. The second thing is, related to the grind. I know that you and Inven have talked a lot in the past about how to set up double life glitches, and I know that your double life glitching in this seed was huge, with your Yang just absolutely waylaying the Mac Giants for like 6,500. That grind seemed to me like it was phenomenal from you. I have to assume you were very happy with it.
Yeah, it was okay. I felt like I got a little sloppy on maintaining a couple of the main error I made was not casting stop with Rydia instead of with Palom to allow Palom to bluff, which got me a little behind on the blinks. But otherwise, yeah, like talking with Annie and Inven about how to get doubles out, it's been a huge boost for the last couple matches, and it worked out again today.
Yeah, definitely. And once you had cleared that Ogopogo spot, and this is kind of the last question I got for you, did you ever have any thought to get Rydia to nuke, to just pivot to, full reflect strats? Were you thinking about monster boxes at all, the ribbon room, anything like that? Or was it just, no, I have to go now, we got to get this done?
I kind of just felt like I had to go. It was a little bit on my mind because I'm like, if I take a monster box, either A, I get nuke, that's great. Although Rydia needed, when I checked her XP before the Crystal Ring or Crystal Altar fight, it was 780. So I think I still get there with one box, but it might depend on which box it is. Or also I pull a Holy Sword, and that's great too. But I mean, it's when you're an hour 20 in, you're like, I gotta go. This fight should be fine. Rosa's got a white shirt. She's got 2200 HP. Palom can supplement with nuke. We'll be okay. Am I really saving the amount of time it takes to get an extra moon fight in the Z fight? Probably not. Just go.
Well, GG's again. Possibly you hit all the high points that I saw and was thinking about. When is game 2 going to happen?
Thursday, so 2 days from now. Same time.
Gotcha. Well, hey, GG's again. Very exciting race. As you all saw in the chat during the interview, John wrapped up just roughly 2.5 minutes right behind. A single wipe would have determined all of that. Very close match. I'm sure game 2 and hopefully game 3 will be just as exciting. So yeah, we'll see if does Jean want to do an interview? I'm not looking at the Restream channel.
That is a
He
great
said yes.
question.
So, anyway, I'll hop out so y'all can get to John. Thanks again for taking the time to volunteer. I'm going to shamelessly plug Entrance Rando. Try it out. It's a lot of fun. Looking forward to the linked stuff that JP is working on. And yeah, catch you guys later.
GG's again.
We are joined by John. John, GG's. What an exciting race. Personally, love to see all 8 objectives covered by both runners. What was your general thought and plans after you completed your grind? Like, what was your roadmap for the rest of the seed at that point?
I mean, I was pretty disappointed with my execution today, and I felt very, very behind. I didn't want to take the Yang I elected for Sid, so I'd have more power, but that meant I wouldn't have a Thunder or a Charm Claw, so I had to go shop, look for an Ogre Axe, and then there's no doubles, right? If you're doing that, missed a couple life glitches. I just felt incredibly behind. So normally I would have done Murrah and pieced out, but I felt like I had to go ahead and commit, and then I kind of felt like I hit pay dirt, right? But then just more more snafus between the mess with CPU and then forgetting that Luca Cave was an objective, so you reset, you go do that again, and then I felt really behind the 8 ball, so I was just trying to do things that Fleury wouldn't have done. Tower was too tempting with 2 quick key item checks, and then the Fey March was rough, but that's kind of feeling behind really dictated my path.
Well, I will still say that you may feel like you were behind. You may feel like it was sloppy. I know that Inven and myself are big proponents of, unless something has gone egregiously wrong, just play your game. Don't play like you're behind. Just trust in yourself. I don't want to second guess what you're doing and how you're playing, but definitely something where you are good enough and you're good enough. That if you play your game and it's even 80% of what you can do, that you're still going to get over the top of most folks. So I don't want you to be too discouraged, especially if you think you played that badly and things were not good. To still come 2.5 minutes behind someone as good as Fleury, you should be looking up at that instead of looking down, my friend. So not so much a question there, just some commentary for you.
Thank you.
And of course, always, we all say it, it's a bit of a cliche, but rando is gonna rando. And in spite of what you feel were missteps, you had some major advantages. And then when you got back to the blue planet, perfectly reasonable things. Like everything you did was super reasonable. Like the items you had and the power you had, every choice you made perfect sense. But then sometimes your opponent takes a different route. They spike the one item you need. They need, Fleury did find the pink tail at Twin Harp, which Twin Harp, massive check, massive gamble. If that had come up Bubkus, you're the one winning by way more than 2 minutes. So yeah, like when small things, tiny little, potholes, not real pitfalls. You had such a massive advantage, but randoed you. But your play was amazing, start to finish. I was a big fan of your choices, and yeah, it was an honor to watch and to get to commentate this game. I think you did great.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you to say. I appreciate that.
I will give you one question, John. Going into now what will be a win or go home game 2, without giving away too many of the secret sauces and whatnot. anything that old Brickety Brick is going to do differently for Game 2, anything that the fans out there, and we know there's a lot of them, are going to be looking forward to.
Maybe a little bit of sleep, a little sleep before school year started up and kiddo started middle school, so sleep's been at a minimum. I caught a bit of Fleury's interview, and the fact that he was able to take Palm along and still get the sling. That's a nice tip. And just try to just execute cleaner. Sometimes I have a habit of getting like 3 or 4 steps ahead, and I kind of forget step 1 and 2. So like I got Reflecty Floaty on CPU, which is great, and I got it in my head like, all right, we're gonna go ahead and kind of get it down like 10,000, then we'll reflect the nuke, and then I forget that you gotta, that turbo wing's not gonna get it over there, right? So it's a constant struggle. So I think just trying to take a breath, which is I have a hard time with it. I really do. And I guess in terms of like tech, I think that the Palm thing is interesting for sure. I took my Siren up on Ordeals to try to just buff up Cessa a little bit. So, and maybe a little bit, maybe extra multiplier on Sid too. I don't know if that would have been enough. He starts pretty high level, just to be able to go ahead and get through a little more quickly. I knew it wouldn't get a Blinker Berserker or anything. But the Palm thing is good to know if we run into that again. And just trying to get some rest and just trying to stay a little more calm.
Well, definitely. GG's again. We'll let you go enjoy, hopefully enjoy the rest of your evening. Again, 131.57, just 2.5 minutes behind, despite in your own words, not your best performance. That's still something to hold your head high against. Fleury is a heck of an opponent. You know this. Y'all are now rivals. This is the second time you're getting to play back-to-back tournaments, basically. So we look forward to Game 2 and hopefully a Game 3 as well.
Yeah, we'll see how Thursday goes. So thank you both. I'm dreading looking, rewatching this, but I'm very excited that both of you are there for insightful commentary that'll help. GG's to Fleury. Thank you, Allie, for carrying Free Enterprise on your shoulders. Thank you, Anziel, for tracking. And I have a feeling this one might get restreamed. I'll see you all in a couple days. Hello?
No, we heard you. We heard.
Okay.
All right. The update for Twitch chat is there is no raid. There are plenty of other races going on if you want to watch them. A couple have been going on for about half an hour. One's going to start in 5 minutes. Check out #League Matches on the Discord for those Khadgar links. We were just trying to make Allie carry even more on her back for a few minutes there.
Gotcha.
And of course, we don't know if there are restreams going to be lined up tomorrow, but there'll be plenty of matches, so keep an eye on the Discord. And thanks again to everyone. Possum, pleasure working with you. Final thoughts to you before we call it a good night?
Just happy to be back in the booth and couldn't think of a better race and a better individual to be in the booth with. So thank you for keeping me honest in the booth, Inven. Been a while since we got to do comms together, and always an absolute pleasure. And we'll rope you into some Worlds Collide or Mystic Quest or who knows what. We'll get you in the comms booth, and it'll be a good time. Doesn't always have to be all Free Enterprise. But this was a heck of a race, a heck of a tournament. Loving what we're seeing here. Thank you to Allie, as John kind of said, holding Free Enterprise, up high as you do. Thank you, Antidale. Thank you, Inven. Thank you everyone in chat and all the fans of Free Enterprise. Y'all are the reason we do this. So, y'all are wonderful. And as Inven had stated, there is no raid target tonight. Go on your own way. Do your own thing. But come back tomorrow for more Free Enterprise. Come back Thursday for more Free Enterprise. Come back Friday and Saturday and possibly even Sunday. There's going to be Free Enterprise every night. If you are a fan, tune on in. We'll be here. And we welcome you and your friends to be here too. And with that, have a phenomenal night, Free Enterprise friends.